switch a little bit, so because it made a huge difference in my life, but it wasn't the only difference.
Right.
So let's talk about supplements. Are you an advocate of putting people on supplements?
Absolutely. And what supplements do is exactly what the word means. They're supplemental, and what they do is they help the body's biochemistry work more effectively. So it's kind of like putting a higher quality gas in your gas tank.
Right.
It allows every chemical reactions in your body requires different nutrients for it, vitamins, minerals, different compounds. And if you don't have enough of those on board, your body will still operate, but it won't operate optimally.
Right.
And so all of that is also determined by your own bio-individuality. What I need and what you need are two totally different things.
Right.
And so what we can do from testing, I'm an advocate for testing because it allows me to get to the answers very quickly so we can see progress faster. But you can get down to exactly how much B12 Minette needs or how much, those kind of things. So you can test and find that out. And then there's a lot of ways just to improve body function. And so I do use supplements, and I'm an advocate for them because people can feel the difference, as you've probably already felt.
Right, and then we wanted to tell you guys today about one in particular, the Max GXL, that this is how I kind of started this whole thing, was that I was having a conversation with Jenny, telling her what was going on in my life, saying, I'm not feeling great, I don't know what's happening. And she's like, oh, I'm so excited about this supplement. And like most people, I'm like, yeah, one more miracle drug, and I'm really not interested in trying it. But she convinced me to give it a try because it made such a difference in her life, and I'll let her tell her own story here in a little while. But I know you were pretty skeptical in the beginning about the Max GXL, and but you saw it really work in action. Can you tell us a little bit about your perspective of what it does, and then I'll tell how it's had an impact on me personally.
Okay. Well, you were right. I'm highly skeptical. I do like to do my own kind of clinical trials, for lack of a better word, on any particular supplement, particularly if they're able to make any kind of claim on how it works. And the Max GXL, what it does is it actually improves and increases cellular glutathione. So of course that's like wah 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 wah. So no one knows what cellular glutathione is.
My eyes glaze over a lot of times when I'm talking to Ben.
I promise. I promise in the next 5 years everybody will know what glutathione is. Glutathione is the master antioxidant produced by the body inside the cells to clean up cellular debris. So every time that one cell makes a little tiny bit of energy, just like a fire has a little smoke left over. So glutathione is basically the janitorial service inside your cells to clean that up, take that junk to the liver for the liver to detoxify it, in which glutathione's a heavy player.
Because we can all really identify with that.
Yeah. And so what's so interesting about this is, as scientists and as physicians and people in the medical world, we thought we were born making X amount of glutathione per cell, and then it decreases over time. There's not much you can do about it. Now, there are some intravenous glutathione treatments that people can do, so that's an IV. Who wants to do that? That can be potentially damaging, but that increases glutathione in the liver, which is important, and it is a very good treatment for when it's for when it needs to be utilized. But we've never had anything before that could actually increase the cellular glutathione at the cellular level. Because glutathione, that particular molecule, can't cross the cell wall. And so the delivery mechanism that Max uses allows that glutathione molecule to be reassembled inside the cell rather than trying to pass it across the wall.
And so for me personally, so we can kind of wrap up and
I don't get too geeky.
I know, well, and I mean, it's fascinating. And so if you want more information, call Betty and she'll give you the whole long history. But for me, the impact that it had was when I started working with Betty 3 months ago, I was having all this crazy pain in my legs, just constant soreness, joint achiness. I thought, oh gosh, am I getting old? Am I getting fibromyalgia? I had no idea what was going on, and I wasn't used to being a person in pain at all. So I started taking this, and within a week, all the joint pain was gone. And it's taken a couple of months, but I'm really starting to see the impact and just that inflammation. For me, I've lost a lot of the puffiness that I had. I mean, that's been... And I definitely have a lot of energy. In fact, I've been out of it the last couple of days, and like 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I was like falling asleep in my chair, and I'm like, what's the matter with me? And I realized it had been like 24 hours since I'd had any of the product, and I could really, really feel the difference. And it wasn't just the Max GL that you had me taking, but you had me taking a second one called Max WLX, which is a weight loss accelerator. I have to read what it says on the box because Betty says take it and I take it. So that shows you my level of trust in them and their knowledge and their information as well. But it's also just had a really big difference during January and February. I had a lot of personal issues, was traveling a lot with an ill parent in the hospital. And even with 2 months of traveling, I never gained any weight. Normally when you travel, it's almost impossible to eat healthfully. And so I really
especially if you're in and out of hospitals.
Yes,
nobody has as bad a food as hospitals.
Well, and this one wasn't bad as hospitals go, but I really feel like it was these 2 products that helped me just maintain energy and just maintain the weight that I was at and get me to a point where then, okay, now let's get really serious about losing the weight.
Right. Well, what Max WLX does is,
and they're pretty boxes too.
I'm probably going to tell everybody something they've never heard before. There's a hormone called leptin that we found in 1994 that actually is the master hormone of all the other hormones in the body, and it actually is made by your fat cells and talks directly to the brain, discussing appetite and whether to store fat or not. And if you think about it from an evolutionary standpoint, starvation was a high probability up until about 100 years ago. And so what leptin does is it actually instructs the body as to whether to take the food that you're eating and store it in the fat, because you may not get food later.
Sure.
And so the interesting thing is leptin, the idea is, well, we'll just, if it's high, we can take it a little bit higher and increase the body's ability to burn fat.
Sure.
Because the higher it is, generally speaking, the better it is. But that's not how the human body works. The human body actually gets resistant to leptin just like it does insulin.
Right.
So our leptin levels climb high, but then the cells are so used to not hearing it that they just ignore it. So anybody that has a teenage kid, this is how I explain it. If you have a teenage kid playing really loud music, after a while, you don't even recognize it. Other people come in your house and you're like, oh, they have stereo on? You don't even notice it because you just blunted, your ears have gotten so used to hearing it, you just don't notice it. The cells do the same thing with leptin.
Right.
So most Americans, if they're struggling with weight, are leptin resistant. So the fat cells basically just keep telling the body, everything you eat, just bring it here. I need more storage.
This is not a miracle drug that you can take this without making the other changes in your life around what you're eating. I mean, you do have to eat healthy and get exercise and all those other things.
Right.
As well. This is really a supplement to the other programs that you promote.
Exactly. Leptin, what WLX does is help the body naturally lower leptin, particularly at your larger meals of the day, which would be usually for most people lunch and dinner, because you usually have a surge of leptin after those meals, and so when that happens, the body stores most of that food as fat. So it does 2 things. It helps blunt naturally, without stimulants, the appetite, which is important because that helps you control what you're doing during the meal, but then it also helps you slowly lower leptin over time. So it's not one of those things that you take and then all of a sudden 2 weeks later you drop 20 pounds, but over the course of 2 months, the studies showed that participants with small dietary changes taking the WLX as prescribed lost an average of 21 pounds, 19 pounds.
As prescribed, is that remembering to take it 30 minutes before you eat? That's always a big challenge.
They lost 21 pounds, but 19 of it was body fat, not muscle, which is often what happens on especially fad diets. So it's not a miracle drug, and to be real honest, every drug that has an extraordinary effect, like all the prescription drugs, are dangerous. They're amphetamine based, and so they cause other bodily function problems. These are really safe because they just help modulate your body's response to stressors or leptin. So it works without it, but it is not there is no panacea. I wouldn't be sitting on a couch with you if I had the ultimate diet pill, because I'd be sitting in the Mediterranean on a really big boat hanging out.
Makes perfect sense. Well, Betty, thanks so much for all this great information. I know I could just sit here and talk to you for hours, and we will bring Betty back in a couple of weeks and we'll talk to her some more about a lot of this great information. But again, I encourage you to go and visit her online at www.livingwelldallas.com. And or check out our website, northtexaskids.com, read our blog, and you'll find some more information about these products and some of the great experiences that I've been having here as well. Betty, thank you so much.